All right, ladies and gentlemen, Fabs in the house. And today I've got a pretty popular knife here with me. This is the Benchmade 940-1. And as usual, we're gonna analyze the look, the sound, and the feel of this blade. But first of all, we're gonna do a size comparison because a fellow YouTuber requested me to do so. So this is against a large Sebenza 21. This is a mini glimpse from Steelcraft, and this is the Riat Augustus. So as you can see, it's smaller than the Sebenza 21, large, and a little bit bigger than mini glimpse. So let's get started. Immediately when you see this blade closed, you notice that there's lots of screws going on. I mean, pivot screw, another 3 right here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the back. Actually, there's 4 in the front too. You've got the axis lock. You've got this thumb stud. I mean, the look is not as clean as I usually like, but it's appealing. It has nice curves and a nice design overall. So I like this one, despite of being busy visually. Something that I'm not in love with, it's the Benchmade stamped writing on the pocket clip. So whenever you're gonna use the knife in your pocket, this is gonna be visible. It's not like high contrast or anything like flashy, but it's there. So something to keep in mind. On the closed position, of course, you're gonna notice that the blade, it's not like 100% centered. It's slightly off in favor of the presentation side. So, it's not a cheap knife. So this is something that shouldn't be there, I think, because I bought this new. But anyways, you can notice that the clip can be reversed on this side, only tip up, of course. You're gonna notice this nice touch of color on the standoffs. It's a nice blue. It's polished. It's shiny. It's nice. The scales are nicely contoured, and they have these 2 lines here to the taper down, and also another accent over here. It's an interesting choice. It's like creating like a false bolster kind of thing. So interesting. You will notice also some jimping going on here, and this is on the liner. It's a partial liner, of course. You can see it from here maybe. So it just goes up to this point to save weight. So it's a clever design. You've got some jimping over here as well. Very, very light. Nothing, I would say, like super functional, but it's there. The really nice thing of this blade is the steel they employed on this one. This is a S90V, so really a good quality steel from Benchmade. The overall profile is pretty slim, and that is really appealing. It's something really nice. It's the blade stock is also quite thin, as you can see, and the blade is well designed. I mean, it has a low profile. I love the reverse tanto profile over here. They did a nice swedge up top. I mean, the blade is not as tall as the Griptilian, but still it's a pretty good height, and the slicing power of this one is going to be excellent. Something that I'm not in love with, and has been pointed out by other fellow YouTubers, are the screws right here. You see, these screws, these two, keeping the carbon fiber scales together with the liners are protruding a little bit. So they're not touching like the blade in any way, but it doesn't look great. I mean, they could have just shortened a little bit those screws. So that's a little, you know, small nitpick that I have on this one. And, you know, they could have been done. They could have been a little bit more on it, I would say. Something that I'm also not a fan of is the billboarding on the blade. Like, I think this logo is a little bit too big. On this side, it's acceptable. S90V, it's fine for me. And let's hear some noises, because this is a peculiar knife. This is has an axis lock. So this works basically by you pulling down this lock here, see, which disengages the blade and allows, when the spring, you know, goes back, to lock the blade. So you pull it back, right, like this. So you unlock the blade, which can go back and in the closed position. And when you release the lock, it just goes into that notch, locking the blade in the closed position. So it's a clever mechanism. I enjoy this, and it's making an interesting sound, because as you can see, when the blade opens, the axis lock is just going down because of the shape of the tang right there. So it's going down. And if you do this with two hands, it's going to be basically silent. So you can do like this, and there's basically no noise if you're controlling the opening of the blade, both in opening and in closing actions. The sound it makes, it's different if you just use your thumb stud like this. That's the sound. Oops. It's a nice noise. It's not loud. It's a nice clicky and solid noise. I appreciate that. It's not loud. It's quite discreet, even if you flick the knife open. So that's a very nice feature. When you close the blade, if you just let the blade fall shut, it's a pretty well dampened sound. Hear this. It's a low pitched thud, which is created by, you know, the blade hitting the pin of the axis lock right there, like this. So that's the sound. And because of the axis lock, the feel you're gonna have by handling this knife is quite special, quite unique. So first of all, this knife is super light, of course, like partial liners, carbon fiber scales. I mean, it's super light. Size is not huge, so this is a very, very light slicer. It's sleek in the hand. You know, the carbon fiber has a pretty good texture. This is a good quality carbon fiber. Overall, very compact handle, and you know, having the slim profile, it's, well, it feels pretty solid in the hand, even if it's light. So I appreciate this very much. Something that I appreciate as well is the awesome weight to blade length ratio. This is a really lightweight knife for, you know, this cutting edge length. So it is very, very interesting. If you handle the knife, there's basically no hot spots. I cannot feel anything, just maybe a tad, you know, from this area here of the pocket clip, but nothing crazy. So I was surprised, because at first you see this and you say, ah man, it's gonna dig in my hand. But no, actually it's not doing any harm. So very interesting. Also, you know, handles have been chamfered really nicely, also on the inside a little bit, but on the outside very well. So no hot spot, really smooth, really comfortable in the hand. The highlight of this one is the action because it's really smooth. You can decide to deploy the blade in few methods. For example, you can just do, thumb stud like that. You can do spidey flick, with your middle finger like that. You can do like two fingers, so you can pinch kind of like this and just deploy the blade, like just launching it like that. Of course, you can do two hands, or you can do, you can use gravity basically, because with the axis lock and being the blade like free falling, you can just orientate the knife like this and just have to just let the gravity do the work. You see, I'm not doing anything. I'm not like pushing, pulling, flicking the wrist, anything. So it's a little bit awkward with the camera angle, but I'm doing it slowly so you can appreciate how it works. You see, look at this. I'm gonna do it slowly. And all right, so very, very nice. It's super controllable. You can just have it open in a very, very soft way. So this is very interesting. Something that I'm not 100% in love with is how they milled out the axis lock and the thumb stud, because if you fidget a lot with this one, you're gonna do this movement here, right? So you're gonna pull down with your finger and your index on the axis lock buttons, and they are a little bit sharp, so they're gonna hurt, a tiny bit, and nothing crazy, but something to keep in mind. Of course, you can just do like something really fast. Of course, you have just to, develop some dexterity and like having like the having to sync like your axis pull down action. So when the blade is deployed, like in this position, you just release it so the lock locks the blade. And as well, to close it down, like in a fast way, you're just gonna have to time well like this action and just release the lock when the blade hits the closed position. Otherwise, it's just gonna bounce. You see? So you have just to release the lock as soon as the blade hits the closed position. So really, really interesting action on this one. Super fidgety. It's very smooth. I mean, it's beautiful. You can really play. Now it's tough to do with the angle, but I mean, you can just do this forever. Something that I suggest not to do is just to pull the axis lock on one side only. It's always better to pull like on both sides like this, so you're gonna put the same amount of force into the springs on both sides. Because I've read on some forums that some people, they had a spring broken because they were only using one. So that makes sense. So overall, this is a really good EDC knife because of the weight and the the cutting edge and the fidgetability that you can have with this one. It's just superb. So overall, really great knife. And yeah, this was my review of the Benchmade Osborne Design 940-1. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching and stay tuned.